السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, my dear students? I hope you enjoyed the last lesson and understood it very well. Okay, the last lesson we were talking about the force, okay, the type of force found in nature. But today, inshallah, we are going to talk about another type of force, but accompanied forces to motion or forces coming with any type of motion or movement during movement. Okay, that's completely different type of force. What's meant by accompanied forces to motion? That's lesson 2, unit 2. We are going to understand it with each other. Okay, our title, we are going to talk about accompanied forces to motion. What's meant by accompanied forces to motion? It's a type of force resulted due to the movement, okay, of a car, of a train, of a person, and we are going to discuss it briefly with each other. Okay, at first, okay, we are going to classify the accompanied forces to motion into two types. The first one, forces originated due to motion. We have two types of force of inertia and friction force. Okay, at first, what's meant by inertia? Okay, I should give you an example to understood well what's meant by inertia. Inertia means what? For example, if I'm having, okay, a few cubes, plastic cubes, as we play it with it, okay, and you are going to put it on your palm, on your hand, and during walking you are putting it on your palm, and you are walking, putting those cubes on your hand, okay, and you suddenly stop. What will happen? What will occur to these cubes? Okay, it will fall down. Why? Okay, these types or these cubes need to maintain its type of movement. What's first type? Its first type was movement. Okay, it moves with you. It have the same speed of you during walking or during movement. And when you stop suddenly, it falls down. Why? Because it need to maintain its first type of movement or motion. So it's stop suddenly. With your stopping suddenly, it complete its movement, so it falls down. Okay, another example to understand also what's meant by inertia, if you didn't know well from the first example. Okay, bring a cup, okay, and then you are going to put on this cup a construction papers. Then we are going to bring a cup and we are going to put above it a construction paper and cover the cup with it. Above the cup we are going to add a coin. So I'm going to add a coin above the construction paper and we have a cup. Then, by a little type of movement, I'm going to push with my hand the construction paper. What will happen to the coin then? Okay, the coin will drop or fall in the cup. If I push the construction paper, if I push it out, why? The coin need to resist the sudden change occurs. What's the sudden change? Pushing the construction paper away. Okay, so the coin fall down again in the cup to maintain its static, okay, or the rest at which it was like this. Okay, another example of the inertia, if we have a bus or a car, okay, and you were in this bus, okay, the bus is moving, okay, and you could see the driver stop suddenly. What occurs to you? What happened? You rush forward. Why you rush forward? Okay, because your body have the same speed, the same type of movement at which the bus was moving by. Then you need to maintain your first type of movement. So you rush forward, resist that sudden change, which is stop suddenly, occurred by the car or even the bus. Another example, of course, if you were riding or you are in a bus or the car with your brother, for example, and you were waiting for your mom and dad, and your brother trying to move the car suddenly. What happened to you at the back? You excellent, right? You go back. Why? Why you go back suddenly? Because the type of static is to be stable. You was like this, and you have to resist the sudden change, which is moving suddenly by the car, okay, with your brother. So you go forward or go at the back, okay, because your body need to keep its main type of static, okay, and resist the sudden change, which is the movement. What about the goalkeeper? What about the goalkeeper, or when you're playing any type, okay, you have what? You need to move. What about the move? You need, okay, to move. Then when you play with the ball, you fall down. How could we fall down? No. أنا عايزة What ab- what about the goalkeeper? Okay, the goalkeeper or the football player, when he kicked the ball, suddenly he could trick in something. Then he could fall down. After falling down, of course, when he fall down, he rush forward. Okay, why? Why he rushed forward? Because, okay, he was in a type of movement. He was running, okay, or walking. So his body need to maintain his first type of movement, which is going forward. So he need to maintain its type of movement and resist the sudden change, which is when he slipped down. So he rushed forward with his body to continue his first type of motion, which is running. Okay, from all of those examples, we can conclude the definition of inertia. What's the scientific meaning of inertia? It's a property. Property means definite description of an object that has to resist, okay, resist or refuse the change of its state whatever, from rest or from motion, okay, at a regular speed. I could consider a regular speed as a definite description, okay, for the type of movement or static in a straight line. That means it's not including having the U-turn because there is other forces acting on it. Unless an external force acted on it, okay, as what? As having U-turn. It's not included in the inertia. So, in case of the inertia, it's a property of an object which resists any type of sudden change, whatever from rest or any type of motion. But we have two main ideas. The first one, it should move in one straight line. The second one, okay, no other force acted on it. So it was the inertia. Number two, okay, as we have taken, we said we have too many types of force. The force of inertia, number one, and the second type is the friction force. What's meant by friction? Could you remember in the kindergarten or in the primary stages, okay, when you were in the PE or in the line, the morning line, when you feel cold, your coach told you to move your hand, to rub your hands. That's called friction. So the friction could be between what? The friction could be between two solid bodies, okay, as you have taken in the fifth primary, okay, as you have done during the morning line, or even you have friction between a solid object and water, as the fish and the water, which is called water resistance. And another type was between the solid object and the air, which is called the water resistance, as the aeroplane and the air, for example, or the bird and the air. Okay, you can now refresh your memory by the meaning of friction force. Okay, friction force, now you are grown up enough to know that it's a type of resistant force, because both the force of inertia and the friction force are two different types of resistant forces against motion. So, in case of the friction force, they are resistant force against motion, originated or coming from between the object in motion and the medium touching it. So the reason here is to have two medium touching each other. Okay, what about another example of friction? The friction between your sneakers or your shoes and the floor, the friction between your cheek and your face and the air, the friction between the swimmer in the swimming pool. All of these are types of friction. Another type of friction between the car and the road, the car tire and the road, or between the bike tires and the road. Okay, all of those are different types of friction. Okay, now we have known already the definition of friction, and we have to know, okay, what's the benefits of friction and what are the harms of friction. Of course, the benefit, the first famous one is lightening of match. Okay, you can use the friction in lightening match. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it helps you during walking. Of course, we said before, it's the friction between your shoes and or your sneakers and the floor. Okay, so it helps you in walking, running, and stopping as well. Number three, it helps the car, okay, to start moving and to stop as well. But what's the friction present in the car? If we have brakes in the car, that's the best example on friction. The brakes in the car is the best example for friction, because that's friction between the car tire and the road. Okay, the more speedier the car will be, the more resistant force or the more friction it will got. So the friction force is directly proportional with the speed. The more speedier you are, the more friction you will got. Okay? According to this, we have also harms of friction. What about the harms? Okay, it causes a lot, a loss of money. Why? Because it damages the internal moving parts of the machine, whatever it was, in a bike, in a car, in any touching types of a moving machine. Why? It damages the internal parts because there is a friction, and the friction produce heat energy. This heat energy may break the internal parts of the moving machine. How we could avoid the friction? By using what? By using lubricants and oil. So by using lubricants and oil. Okay, why? We could put it between the internal parts of the moving machine. Why I should put it between the internal parts and the gears, for example, for the moving machine, to avoid friction or to minimize, okay, the contact, okay, the direct contact between the gears or the moving types. Another part or another harm of the friction, more than losing money, okay, is damage the brakes, the bike, and different types of internal parts, okay? And we could minimize it by using what? By using lubricants and oiling the different types of machine. Now we were talking about, okay, the forces originated due to motion. We said those were forces of inertia and friction force. What about the last type, forces cause motion or forces inside living systems? Oh, we have a definite note about it. The force inside a living system, the best example that is the heart. The heart, as we know, it's a type of muscle, and all the muscles depend on contraction and relaxation. So it's such a type of force inside the living organism or inside the human body. By contraction and relaxation of the heart, it pumps the blood to all body parts. Another example as well is contraction and relaxation of the whole body muscles, muscles of your leg, of your hand, of your arm, okay? So all of these depend on the force of contraction and relaxation. Another example as well is what, okay, depend on absorbing water and mineral salts from the soil. How? The water and mineral salts from the soil rise up to the root, from the root to the other green parts. Okay? How could it rise up? By what? By which type of force? It could rise up by absorption force, okay? By absorption force through the root and the root hair as well, okay? It's responsible for absorption of water and mineral salts until it reach the whole plant parts, okay, even the green parts. So that's attraction force or absorption force. Another type, okay, of forces inside the living organism is pumping the blood in the blood vessels, okay? It's type also of contraction and relaxation. All of those types of forces inside the living organism, okay, those are just example of force. What about the first two type of forces? We have mentioned them before, the force of inertia or the friction force. Those were such a type of accompanying forces to motion, and especially the friction force. In its definition, it's a type of resistant force, both of them. Why? It resists any change, and especially in case of the friction force, it comes in the opposite direction of movement. For example, in case of the friction force, if I'm moving, okay, in this way, okay, if I'm moving this way or rush forward, so the types or the direction of friction will be in the opposite direction. So that's direction of movement. That's the direction of movement. And we have here the direction of friction which arise or originate in the opposite direction of movement, okay? And don't forget, okay, the force of inertia which has to resist the sudden change. The best example on this, okay, as a life application on the force of inertia, the safety belt used in the cars and aeroplanes as well. Why? To prevent the passenger from injured during accident. Okay, don't forget those give reasons because it's very important. Again, don't forget those. Okay, why? It's said the policeman, okay, ask the passengers, okay, or the travelers to use the safety belt in aeroplanes. Why? Because it prevents the force of inertia. Prevent what? Okay, it come against the force of inertia because it help the passenger from doesn't come in injure during accident. Thank you. I hope you understand it well. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you.